Call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not bad. A motion to approve the minutes, is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Bills?
There's one additional bill on your desk from the LEC.
Well, this seems to be down significantly. The jail bill from last month is down almost 20,000.
Approximately, yes.
Yeah, right, this one.
I'll move to approve the bill.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the bill? Any other questions? None? Roll call.
Burns.
Aye.
Lightfoot.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Heisler.
Aye.
Brown.
Financial report, Elizabeth?
They're right where they should be. Everybody's on the percentage they should be for their budgets. So, if there's any questions.
Any other questions about the financials?
Motion to approve them?
Motion to approve the financial report, is there a second? Second. Have a second? Roll call.
Lightfoot.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Martin. Heisler.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye. Treasurer's checks. I've got a copy of that. No changes there, is it?
No changes.
Do you want to add?
Move to approve.
A motion to approve the treasurer's checks, is there a second? Second. There was a second, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Martins.
Aye.
Lightfoot.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye. Okay. Approval of agenda, any corrections there?
Motion to approve the agenda?
There's a motion to approve the agenda, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. First thing on is Jerry. You have anything from the tax director's office? Our visitors and delegations, unless we gotta do that one. We have one visitor. Thank you, Tom.
Good morning.
I'd like to introduce our new law enforcement center administrator, Tom Riley. And I'm glad to see you here this morning.
It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me. Just got in the saddle yesterday, and so so far so good. And thought I'd show up and if there's any questions or anything. Just really excited to get started, and had a good day yesterday, and looking forward to everything moving forward there. So if anyone has any questions for me or anything, I'm open to that. I didn't even have a chance to look and see if there's anything related to Law Enforcement Center on the agenda, but if there is, I can stick around. Otherwise, eventually I'll probably slide out because I got plenty to do there. So thank you for having me.
I think we're very good on things for law enforcement today, so. Yeah,
Very good.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate you coming, taking time out of your day. Thank you. Any other visitors or delegations want to approach the board? Okay, with that, we'll move into Jerry. Now you can go ahead. If you have anything you want to visit with us about?
Well, just some legislative stuff. They're moving pretty fast, and there's a couple bills that kind of concern me, I guess. One of them is the Senate Bill 2339 on agritourism. I know I mentioned it to you guys before. It passed 25 to 22 through the Senate. That's kind of an open-ended thing where we potentially could lose a lot of tax base if that bill is passed, just depending on the interpretation of this law. It's really open-ended, and the Association of Counties agrees it could, well, we don't know. You know, it's being pushed by some very influential people that have a big pheasant farming operation, and there's a lot of,
What does it do, Jerry?
it exempts anything that will qualify as agritourism.
Oh, okay.
And it could possibly exempt our resorts on the lake. Or anything else to do with agritourism. All you have to do is register as agritourism and then qualify, but no, you know, right now it's open-ended, we don't know what it is to qualify.
Is it possible to get a list of who is currently registered? Because I went back and looked
Yeah,
at
all
what,
you have to do is go online.
okay, I looked online, I couldn't find it, but I went and looked at the, how
Look
they,
at North Dakota agritourism. What disturbed me about that is the fact that, the mainstay suites in Fargo, North Dakota, the extended stay hotel, was listed as an agritourism business. That to me left it wide open as to who can register to be an agritourism business. I mean, I don't know why they thought they qualified, and I couldn't find anything that said what you had to do to qualify as an agritourism business, other than register. I mean, I don't know, do they serve products for breakfast made in North Dakota? I don't know how they qualify as an agritourism business.
Was that brought up before I got to the meeting the other day, Adam?
no, they never spoke about it at the legislative update. I never had the chance to ask the question, but I think how they set what an agritourism business is the definition of agritourism is in century code under like chapter 53. It was passed in 2011 in a bill where they protected them with liability claims so they could buy insurance essentially. And the and I went back and looked at it, the definition of agritourism is extremely broad.
I have it here if you want me to read it.
Yeah, he's got, it's kind of,
Oh, we don't need to read
no,
it.
but it's broad.
Anyway, that's one that we should be contacting the House members.
Well, they've had 2 legislative hearings or sessions out here in the last 2 weeks. You weren't at either one, I see.
No, I wasn't
You
around.
should bring those concerns to them, you know.
I've been trying to keep up on the blog as well with it, but I'd like to either have it read or get a copy of the definition of that, so.
What other bill were you looking at?
Well, there's one 1057, and you know, and I'd like to know you guys' feelings on this one. It's a lot to do with taxation and sending out notices. If this one passes, when you guys increase ag land, you know, we just do a blanket increase or decrease on ag land. On this bill, if we increase it by 15%, we have to send a letter to everybody, to all owners. And I just think that that's about a $10,000 hit that we don't need to send all those notices, that we have 7,000 ag parcels. And if we put it in the headlines of the newspaper, and you know, we don't have any complaints. We went up 40% in 2 years, and we didn't get complaints that nobody got notified. That one's gonna fly, but I was just wondering how you guys feel about that.
You think it's gonna fly?
Yeah,
It passed the one side of, passed the house.
yeah.
Things have to cross over. How many years have we went up over 15%, Gary? In the last 10 or 15, I know we had a spreadsheet in the past that showed it all the way back quite a few years, but we used to go up 3 to 5 to 8% a year or whatever, and it's been continually rising until it got to where it is today. But what does the forecast look like? Is everybody to the point where 15% would be a big increase, or would 15 or under 15% put us in compliance in a lot of cases? Or?
Well, this year we're not gonna be over 15%. I think there's only been a couple in the last, well, there's probably been 2 of the last 3
Yeah.
where we would be sending a notice to everybody.
And
I mean, 2 in the last 40 years or 50 years, right? I mean, just.
Oh, we went up and
increase like
down,
that.
we went up and down 15% before, yeah.
but it's rare.
Yeah,
And the law states that if you do it to commercial or residential, then you have to give them notice as well. So, I mean, it would just be equalizing it across all three spectrums, right?
well, no, currently if we do a whole class of property, like all of the residential or all of the commercial or all ag, we don't have to send everybody.
Oh, if you do it across the.
If you do, if everybody gets the same increase,
This is just 15% above.
it's a cumulative 15%, so if the assessor did 5%, the township did 5%, the county did 5%, the county ends up sending a notice to everybody. It's cumulative,
Oh,
but in Ramsey County, we've always done it at the county level. You know, the assessors or the townships don't increase ag land. Not saying they couldn't if they didn't, you know, if they wanted to, but they
we
just
do it
don't.
at the county.
Right. I mean, I think it's an uphill battle to do anything with that one, but, there's just too many other things tied into that bill, you know, that.
Well, it's our obligation as a county if taxes are going up. I mean, we should, notify the taxpayer. So they're prepared for when they show up, the taxes, that they have ample cash or money on hand to pay them, right? Would that only make sense?
Well, to me, it doesn't make sense to send those 7,000 notices. Put it in the headlines of the newspaper.
Everybody don't get the newspaper.
Well, okay, well, I know your view. It's gonna happen, I guess, so it'll just be a budget item.
Yeah.
Anybody else comment on that, 1057, Mark? Myrna, you got anything to say about 1057?
No, I think that if we're gonna raise the 15, we better let everybody know.
Anything else, Jerry?
Oh, there's a lot of other bills, but not, I guess that we haven't discussed before.
Any that you're really concerned about other than these two?
No, not really.
Everything looks all right?
Well, kind of. I guess I don't, none of them stick out that we need to make an issue out of them, I guess.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Kristen?
Good morning. Just a few quick things. I've been continuing working on our multi-hazard mitigation plan. I have officially reviewed and made the necessary corrections for the first section of the plan. Now it'll be sent out to our steering committee for their review. And speaking of steering committee, I did invite all of you to the last multi-hazard mitigation meeting. I talked to our contractor and he said that generally how it's done is they use one county commissioner, and that's the individual that sits on the steering committee and comes to the meetings, and there only is 2 or 3. So it's not a lot out of your time, and Bill can attest, and so can Elizabeth. It was about an hour. It wasn't too bad. So if you would like to make a decision, maybe if you'd have one individual to make sure that they come to each meeting, so we know we have representation from your side.
You're not
Well, I'm
representing?
guessing that should probably belong to the person who has the emergency management portfolio.
I mean, you're all welcome to come. I'm not saying the rest of you cannot. Absolutely you can. But I would like one for sure that I know will show up each time. Consistent, so then they have everything and they have all the knowledge throughout the whole project.
I went to the first one, so I mean, if they want to continue going through them, I'm sure we'll do that. But if Myrna wants the emergency management portfolio head to do it, then we'll probably have to do that.
I think you're at 2 or 3 meetings, is that what you said?
Yep, then we've already done one. So I won't take up too much of your time.
I'm behind the 8 ball already then, huh?
I'm leaving it in your court to make the decision who should be there. I'm not saying who.
You're gonna have 1 or 2 more meetings?
We'll have at least 2 more meetings.
Okay, well, if you wanna do that, we'll go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. And then I just completed a tabletop exercise with the National Guard last week, Monday, Tuesday. It was a tornado-based scenario. It went really well. We worked with their jock down in Bismarck. We did it all over the phone, basically. And we did have 2 guardsmen up here those 2 days. And they were here pretty much all day each day. I also have an upcoming exercise up in Mountain, North Dakota, and I did tell you about that about a month ago, that I'll be going, and that'll be here in about a week or two. And there's also a full-scale exercise with Enbridge, and I usually try to partner up with them each year and go to their full exercise. Usually it's either held in Grand Forks. This year it's in Minot. It's 2 days, so it'll be an overnight, and that's the 5th and 6th of May. And it's really good to go and partner with them and work with them, just in case anything were to happen with them. So I'd like to go to that, if that's okay with all of you as well.
When's that?
May 5th and 6th.
Okay. You're gonna ask later, or?
Yeah, I can ask again later and remind you, no problem. And I'll even save hotel expenses. I have family up there, so.
Oh, okay, good.
How's that? All of our tier 2 reports are coming in as expected. And we, later on this year, then we'll get, usually it's a small dividend from those hazardous materials, the papers that come in. So I don't know what the average is usually. It varies anywhere from 600 to 1,500 of what we get in from those tier 2 reports. And one last thing, with the Siren grant that I've been working on pretty diligently, I just got the first bill in from the company, from Federal Signals Company. I'll get the second part with, that will be the installation. What I'd like to do is take that, pay it out of our grant account, then it'll come back in from our reimbursement, just like how all of my grants work. And the cost share, which is being paid by the city, and they've already said they would pay it, no problem. We'll pay all of it, and they'll give us a check for their cost share, so it'll all come back into our same grant account. It's just kind of an easier paper trail for me to pay it out, since I don't have to figure out, or so then I don't have to wait for the installation bill to come in, because the company does want to be paid for the first portion of their bill.
Okay.
So I actually had that in the bills today, and it was a little over 20,000, and that's for the equipment, and we've received the equipment. And as soon as thaw is here, as soon as the freeze-up's done, we will be putting those, not me, but the fire department will be putting in, along with the company, we'll be putting in the poles for the siren installation.
Okay.
So if that sounds okay to you all,
Yes.
that's what I will do.
Sounds good.
Perfect, and that's all I have for you, unless
Okay.
you have questions for me.
Any questions for Kristen? Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill?
Morning.
Morning.
We've been busy. So far I've ran 54 different farm analysis for the new farm bill. You have to spread the word that a lot of people make assumptions, and they shouldn't make assumptions, because they're finding out that their general assumptions isn't necessarily all true for their farm. So please take a look at it. Of course, that whole deal got extended a month, so we got a little more time to work with that. We got our private pesticide trainings coming up this month. That'll be a busy time of year for us. We also, shooting sports is actively wild. We had 3 young men that had been asked to try out for the junior Olympic trials. So that is really a fun thing for us. Our programs are full. We are already full for next year. We've got a waiting list beyond the waiting list for next year. So if you talk about the program, and if you know somebody that's willing to volunteer to help us out with some more volunteer trainers, we'd appreciate it, and then we could add another session in there. But it's just been such a growing thing. Is wonderful. I can't say enough good things about it. Our volunteers in this community are absolutely phenomenal, the time they spend with these kids. Other than that, we've got the normal things coming up. You know, the spring season's right around the corner for planting, so got a lot of things going on in that direction too. Questions, comments?
Shooting sports, how many other counties are doing this in the state?
There's, I can't give you an exact number, Commissioner Brown, but I believe there's like about 20 that got them going, but they're probably, and I can brag, is not even one close to what we have going on here.
But they're seeing a lot of interest too for?
Yes, yeah. Their problem is to find volunteers.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
And then too, you know, we're fortunate because we have the Memorial Building basement, a shooting range, where a lot of communities do not have that. And we got a shotgun range north of town. I'm trying to generate some funds to help get a skeet stand up there so we can make that state competitive. I think we'll probably have that done this summer, the way it sounds. And of course, our archery range out there on the backside edge bait shop, We're developing that, and we gotta get some trees planted now and all them kind of things, so we got a lot of things going on in that shooting sports area.
How are you related to the school one that just had?
We're not.
Not at
That's,
all?
yep, that's a whole separate deal. What'll happen is, as I foresee it happening is a lot of our shooters are younger youth, not high school age kids, so it'll be kind of a feeder program for them, but they're gonna be at entirely different times, all that.
Okay.
My one concern for that is I'm a little concerned that they're gonna ask for our volunteers to help lead that program for a while, and I'm worried about burnout. That's one thing that concerns me, and we've talked to our volunteers. I don't mind that they do that, and I'm not gonna tell them what they can and cannot do, but they need to make sure they manage their time so they don't get themselves, so they don't wanna do it at all for anybody. But yeah, they're kind of a feeder, because we can get this thing going maybe even more. I don't know how, but, yeah. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you,
Thank
Bill. Well, with that, I think we'll do the Water Resource District Board alone right now, and we'll go down to Rachel.
Hi. Got a message that you guys would like an update, so I'm gonna hand you out 2 PowerPoints. This is the first one I'll be speaking on, and this is the second one I'll be speaking on. I decided to break it out into 2 parts. One, basically doing an overview of what 2014 entailed for Devils Lake and what 2015 looks like, and then going into further analysis in regards to the oil refinery. So the first PowerPoint, the one with the water droplets on it, is looking at programs for 2014. The first set of programs that we had done and how the programs worked were big multifamily housing. We had a total of 8 projects that constituted for 32 units that were supposed to be built and approved for building in Devils Lake. What incentivized them is it's a part of the PACE program through the state. And so they're entitled to approximately $150,000 in interest buy-down. $50,000 coming from the community, which is paid back at the end of the loan, and $100,000 from the state. There were 3 developers that took part in this. We did have to release some of the restrictions that were on the previous program. We had it that you could only come to the table 1 time. Well, we found that there was a stagnant in the program, and those restrictions were stronger than what the state had. And we had a banker come to us and said, you know, there's not a lot of people that can probably throw out $600,000 for a 4-unit apartment building to sit on it. So you might need to open it up so that they can come up to you multiple times. And so we did that. And Sungate Properties, Northland Properties, and Clemensford Investments came and did it several times. Facade improvement, we've had a lot of improvement. And if you guys look at the liquor locker's new sign, Kranz's new sign, State Farm Insurance, exterior remodel investment center's new signs, those were all part of the program in 2014. We saw a lot of foot traffic just in regards to conversations about the improvement, which was really nice. Mini grant funds, we only had 1 this year that got approved, and that was for Rylos and Mimi. Not sure if many of you have heard of this company. It's a new business in Devils Lake. They are stationed behind the Boots and Heels store, and that is essentially her distribution center. She is hiring an employee right now. She makes all sewn products for small children and families, so such as scarves, burp cloths, baby towels, you name it, she's got it. She sells on Boots and Heels, Etsy, Amazon.com, JustCamo.com, Shields. She's going to the MTV Movie Awards, so it's really cool that Devils Lake has someone like this. As stated previously, if you go to the next page, we have flex funding. There's 3 different programs, like I said. Multifamily housing is one. Flex funding is more of a generic, based on the community discretion, and then PACE funding, which is just for primary sector. We did approve 3 projects for flex funding: Decorated Wearables, Gessner Ironworks, and EAE Enterprise, which is the crematory. What that allows them is $50,000 in interest buy-down from the community and $100,000 interest buy-down from the state. And again, we do make them pay back the community portion at the end of the life of their loan, so there isn't any favoritism for competing businesses. We did training and de-incentive again, $7,500 investment in that program to offer leadership courses. I know from my prior experience coming from the hospital, you have that lab tech or that nurse that was really good at what she did or he did, and you promoted them when the management position opened up. And so then you stuck this person's really good at drawing blood or taking care of a sick patient, but they don't really have the leadership skills or supervisory skills, so they look at you and panic when they have their first reprimand of an employee, things like that. So I suggested to my board that we maybe look at doing some leadership courses, because in a small town like this, you do promote your good health up, and we need to offer them the tools here locally to give them that at a cheaper rate. And so we did that, and we had huge success. Every class almost has filled up in regards to that, and there is a list of the classes that we offered. There's still one, I believe on March 12th is the last one, how to solve problems and to keep them solved. Going on to the actual projects that we worked on in 2014, Ultra Green. It changed management a couple times, but it did go from 7 employees to 40 plus employees, and we are currently working with them to upgrade their business incentive agreement with the city. They started producing product in Devil's Lake, so that was a big change here in 2014. They run into a significant amount of financial issues in regards to SBA funding, things like that, but they've changed their banking structure and where they've been making out of, and I think we'll have a good foot moving forward. Centers project, as you all know, we worked on promoting a convention center, wellness center here in Devil's Lake. That went to a vote on October 7th, and it was not successful. However, we only lost by 70 votes, which in our terms we think of as a win, because compared to other communities that take 2-3 stabs at this, what we've heard from all of them is don't give up, because with that number, there's something there that everybody liked, we just got to modify it, and so that's what we're looking at doing for the future. I just want to give high praises to the volunteers there. Again, as Bill said, we have some amazing volunteers in our community, and none of them go unnoticed. Devil's Lake Kids Daycare, just an update on that. We did help out financially. Devil's Lake Kids, their board came to us along with their management staff that they were going to be closing. They were about $16,000 in arrears, or $15,000 in past due bills that they were going to walk away from. They had no financial means to, and a lot of them were local, if not all of them, such as senior meals, things like that. So we looked at that factor because we didn't want to stick our community members with a bill. Another factor is we didn't want to say we didn't try to help those 43 kids that were enrolled in the daycare here to be left without daycare. Because I'm sure as many of you have heard, it's a hot topic in all communities in North Dakota is daycare shortage. We're short, and that was before we ever were missing 43 daycare spots. So we didn't help them with a 0% interest loan paid back over 5 years, starting 6 months after the inception of it. We did put in business requirements. We put in 2 of my board members had to sit on that board, so that give them more business perspective. They're really good at daycare and kids and the nurturing aspect, but it almost kind of faults people to a sense in those positions because they feel bad for everybody, and so they were letting people stay there when they weren't paying, things like that. So we gave a lot of business knowledge to them. Tough love had to take place where they canceled people, wouldn't want to come back if they weren't paying. They got all paying customers, or paying families. It was headed in the right direction, and they just really lost momentum, and so they are closing on the 15th of March. The positive of it is I think that they will have everybody locally paid off except for me. So we're looking at other options to incentivize daycare, which I'll get into in 2015. Continuing on the next page with 2014 projects. Lake Region Technology Entrepreneur Center. I haven't been very vocal on this because it is a new project that's very early stages. They've gotten their certification from the state to be an entrepreneur center, and what it would entail is it's going to offer business internships and support and development for current and new businesses. Essentially, it's going to establish a center at Lake Region State College, piggybacking off of what they already offer. For someone walks in and says, I want to open a new business, or I want to expand my current business, but they aren't really quite sure what papers to fill out, how to get started, how to do business plans, things like that. Really give them a leg up, and so we've been sitting on that board and helping them work with that. Next is the industrial park development. We've had 3 new businesses going to the old industrial park just this year. Gessner Ironworks, Wise Guys Installation, and Lake Region Roofing. This has been quite an achievement compared to previous years. It's very exciting to see people believing in Devil's Lake and wanting to grow and expand. And also that Gessner Ironworks is a brand new facility, Lake Region Roofing is a brand new facility, but Wise Guys Installation is an expanding facility that was renting a shop, and his business has grown so much that he had enough stability to move out into his own, and so that was very exciting for us. American Dakota Refinery, I will have a further presentation to follow on that. There was not enough room in just this little snippet to add that there. Any questions on 2014? No? Okay, moving on to 2015 programs. Mini grant fund, we've already had Blue Line Gutters, which is a new business. Lake Region Roofing, as stated before, going into the industrial park. And Little Coyote Coffee is a homemade coffee manufacturer here that is expanding into a marketplace in Minneapolis, and so she's going to vendor shows, and it was a pretty significant investment on her part to go further, and so we did offer the mini grant fund to that, and mini grant fund entails $5,000 open to business development. So then moving on to the daycare, as stated before, we still know it's a shortage. We're working on how is it that Devil's Lake can give ourselves a leg up, or maybe get a little bit of stability here. Not necessarily focusing on a building that will be vacant with the city. The city's got to decide what they're going to do with that, but we're looking at maybe some grant programs, things to maybe that can incentivize the good daycares that are here in town. We have good daycares. We just need to maybe incentivize them to expand their numbers. Maybe it means putting a working bathroom in their basement so that they have more square footage, something. So we're looking at some of those possibilities. I have Jody Pike coming to speak to my board tomorrow, Wednesday, tomorrow, to just talk about the shortage. One of the things my board has said is, well, we know there's a shortage of daycare that you say. Well, so now they can hear that of Jody's mouth. As a mom, I feel it. And so I take it very seriously that the shortage of daycare we need to do everything we possibly can. Are we going to fix it? No. No one's figured out how to fix it in North Dakota, but we need to not just sit back and say it is what it is. We need to try our best. So going on to multifamily housing. The city just approved a 4th round, which entails 5 projects with a minimum of 20 new townhomes or apartments to be built. And it accounts for $250,000 in community dollars to be put towards that, which is payable at the life of their loan. Next page, 2015 projects. We changed our logic to investor drive. We used to have memberships. We've always had memberships. We've had very little movement or change. We've only had probably about 50 memberships, looking at the past history, which out of Devil's Lake there's over 400 businesses. And so talking with previous director and things like that, he wasn't sure when numbers had been updated, because when I was trying to figure out how was the criteria broke out for dollar amounts that we were billing people, no one knows when it was updated last or when the membership drive was done. So Amanda, which I'll get to as my new assistant, she did a lot of work on this, and she contacted other areas in the state, and they changed their mentality from memberships as like an obligation, or that you have to, that you feel like you get something for it, to investor, more of a donation thought. What is your service to your community? What do you feel your obligation is to your community to incentivize economic development? So we did change that, and we've had a tremendous turnout already. We sent it out the first week in February, and we've already got over half of what we've collected memberships previous year. So we broke it out in silver, gold, and platinum, and it's not on number of employees, it's not on how much you make, it's just basically on what you feel you financially can do and what you feel your obligation is to the community. And if you don't have any, there's no one knocking on your door saying you have to, or it's basically on a donation like if you were requested from a foundation. Less invasive, I guess. And then we're gonna have a take 2 on Centers project. We've been starting to meet already. We broke it out into 3 different committees: the survey committee, pro forma committee, and Walmart. The survey committee has been working pretty hard on getting a survey out there, breaking the questions up between wellness center and convention center, and see what it is people liked, what they didn't like, and what they would like if it changed, if we changed the project. So basically, we're looking at modifying what it was that we had before to make it acceptable to the community, what they want to see here. And so that's our intention. The pro forma committee is going to look at the financials more in depth, and the Walmart committee, that was my committees, for some reason, no one else volunteered with me to analyze the purchase of the Walmart building, which, once I got a little bit further into it, working with a private investor group, they ended up purchasing it, which I'm sure many of you have heard. Going on to that, they're naming it City Plaza is what they intend to do with the Walmart project. It's a group of investors. They would ideally like to see retail space, restaurant space, office space, and event center if possible. And so it'd be really nice if we could get a private investor to believe enough in our community to get that event center here. And then we've already hooked them up with some hotels that have been previously working with me in regards to if we did get an event center wanting to come here. So there's very interested parties in that, which is exciting. But another good thing for Devils Lake this year is we have a new website going to be coming out hopefully the end of March. Ours is antiquated and very out of date. We've been working with them. In fact, I have a training today, and basically they're going to pull the training wheels off and say, here you go, put the last of your stuff in there and we can make it live when we get it in there. Try to look at big communities in North Dakota, see what their sites look like, and make us a little bit more brass and glass, I guess. So hopefully we get some traction with that. A lot of developers that look at a community, the first thing they look at is website. And it speaks volumes. If your website is bad, a lot of times they don't even make a phone call. So that's where we need to put our first, a big portion of our budget dollars to this year. I really feel strongly about that. Annual meeting is on March 28th at noon at Lake Region State College, and I invite all of you to come. The keynote speaker will be John Richmond, the president of NDSCS, and they put a really neat program together in Wahpeton and how they work with businesses, students, and the college to not only grow the college's student base, but grow the businesses that are in shortage of that diesel tech mechanic or what have you, to where they contract with the business owner to help incentivize the college to place students in their business for internships, and then contracted for 2-3 years after they graduate to work there. So hopefully we can get something stirred up in our community to maybe create a program similar to that. And last but not least, but with the new workload that we've been having at Forward Devils Lake means new staff, and so Amanda Zine is our new assistant here, and she's a breath of fresh air, and I don't want anybody to scare her away from me. Any questions on 2014 and what's coming up in 2015? Yes?
Okay, so on the daycare one,
Yes.
there is legislation going through to be able to increase the number of
Age.
people that they can have at the daycares. Are you following that, and how's that?
Yeah, yeah, and I think essentially what it boils down to is the age of the kids too. It's not going to affect the under 18 months, which is classified as an infant or a baby. It'll be above 18 months, and our shortage here is significantly the under 18 months.
Oh.
It's infants. There's not an opening in Devils Lake for infants, and I actually just pulled 2014 Ramsey County Child Care Aware statistic, and we have 908 licensed spots in Devils Lake, and we have a capacity for over 1,300. So we're in a shortage of 400 daycare spots, and Jody Pike thinks that's significantly conservative. So no matter what legislation comes through, we still need to try and do our best to incentivize, you know, some of these home daycares, or maybe someone to go further and do buy a building and do a private one on their own. What I've learned through all of this project is there's a difference in how they're reimbursed from commercial daycares to home or private daycares. They don't get the portion of meal reimbursement on commercial daycare, and that's a significant cost to them. They don't get to you know, like in home daycare, they can claim all their operational, their housing, their utilities, their every expense gets as a deduction on their taxes. So that's why it's feasible financially for private daycares, whereas commercial daycares, they don't have the same tax benefits.
They don't have the same tax benefit.
Wow.
So that's why the buildings like Memorial Daycare, things like that, unless they're employed by or in a large corporation, that has a management structure put in place. That was the biggest thing. If you could have a half-time administrator there running it, I think it maybe would work, and allow those daycare providers, those directors, to do what they're really, really good at, because Jen was amazing. Allow her to be on the floor doing preschool and running the daycare facility instead of behind the desk on a computer. But
So
You just said then, Rachel, that like a private business
Mhm.
could probably rent that building.
Yeah.
Put their own daycare in there for
And
their
get tax
employees.
benefits.
And then they would be,
They get
better
more.
suited, they get more revenue from the
Yeah.
meals.
Yeah.
Is the city interested in that?
Yeah, they've actually had one person just reach out to them asking if they would be willing to consider it. So I think last night at City Commission, they established a committee to, I think Terry Johnson was actually labeled with it to work on figuring out both, are we wanting to sell it or are we wanting to rent it? Figure out what it is. But at first we were like, okay, how many daycares have gone through there and not worked? Maybe it can't be a daycare. But then as we started discussing more, if it was a private daycare, I think it could work, or better. It'd have an upper hand anyway.
Management is, yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, so if nothing is left on the 2014, 2015,
Just where we're going on that
Yes.
wellness center,
yes.
are you, I mean,
The survey's gonna guide us. That's what we're leaning on, is we want everybody, if you get your fingers on it, please encourage everybody to fill it out. We want to know what it is the community wants or needs. We're thinking about changing the logic from the wellness center to more of a rec center. And incorporating more of the family play items, whether it be gyms, walk track, emphasizing more on that and less on the workout equipment and some of that. But again, if the survey comes back that they want the fitness center workout stuff, then we'll go back to that. But something has to change because by law, we can't bring it to a vote unless the project has changed in some way. That you have to show that you've listened to the community, you've heard their input, you've taken the input and modified your project to bring it back.
Will the community description be able to include the outside city limits people?
For vote, you mean?
Yeah.
The survey can, the vote can't.
Okay.
No, because if it's sales tax, it's state law that it has to be city residents.
Okay.
I just wish we could have somehow got the message out there better that allowing it to be a sales tax issue, that means that every tourist, and that was like a significantly, significant tourism attraction. We have, that means that everybody coming into our community is helping pay for our rec center, convention center, things like that. So there's a reason why Medora, it has the highest sales tax collection in the state at 8%, the max you can have. Because then they have really low property tax. They get all their tourists to pay for their city infrastructure. And that was like getting the point where we maybe need to start looking at rechanging our focus on that aspect.
do you think the event center is still on board, or do you think private investors are gonna take over, or?
If they take over, obviously we won't build a second one, but if they decide to pull out that it's not feasible for them, then we will pick it up again. So either way, the project's not gonna die. We're gonna have an event center project hit Devil's Lake in some fashion. As to when, I don't know, so.
Will you go forward with the wellness if,
Yeah.
if the
Convention
center's
center,
not
yeah.
ready to go forward, or?
Right, unless the survey comes back and says, everybody says that is a bad idea, we don't want a wellness center, but, I don't think that'll happen, so. I see this staying on our plate in 2015 as a project, and I hope it does. It was a good project, and I'm not willing to let all that work that community put out there go to waste.
Your park board's very interested in doing the wellness center, yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, park board, all parties are very, very interested. Location is a big question. I have a feeling that's gonna be one of the things that comes back in the survey that will help guide us. Right now, everything's on hearsay. That's the hard part. The group I hang around with is different than the group that every other person on the community hangs around with, and we all hear different things. Some people say location of the college is horrible, they didn't want that. Then other people say that they heard it was a great location. So that's where the survey needs to guide us, because right now everything's based off hearsay, and you don't end up with a good product on hearsay. All right, moving on to the second PowerPoint. American Dakota Refinery is what the proposed refinery would be named here in Devil's Lake. It is a clean fuels refinery. What that means, it's new technology and cleaner emissions than past refineries. As many of you know, there has been a refinery built outside of the Dickinson one that will be coming online here in the near future in over 30 years. And so, like many of us know that we're not driving the same cars with the same emissions as we were 30 years ago. So it's the same logic. Another factor that we need to consider is this is only a 20,000 barrel a day refinery. For example, the Mandan one is almost 70,000 barrels a day. So that tells you the size comparison. 100 new jobs will be available in Devils Lake just for the refinery itself. That does not include if we get a corporate office here as well. And for every job that's created at the refinery, there's approximately 4 spin-off jobs that are created, whether it be a new welding company coming to town, pipe manufacturer, you name it, restaurants for catering, things like that. So it's managed growth, and that's what we're focused on here in Devils Lake. We do not, it is not our intention to have our city expand 3 folds in a matter of a couple of years. We don't want that. I don't want that. I smoke kids here. I don't want my kids sitting in the halls in their classrooms because there's no room. We need to grow and have managed growth that we can adjust to. And knowing what we did with the truck, or the dike project, there were 400 workers on average, up to at sometimes there was 1,000 trucks running through Devils Lake a day. And so knowing that we lived through that and there wasn't a whole lot of ruckus over it, we feel that we could grow with this, especially since these will be permanent residents. Therefore, you're going to get permanent housing, permanent structures put in place to accommodate the new growth. Land is secured, 356 acres just north of the new industrial park. It has not been purchased, but there is an option on the property. The construction phase would take approximately 24 months, and we are trying our best to get their corporate office located in Devils Lake, because there will be a corporate office in North Dakota somewhere. This is the first of the refineries. They plan on building another one in North Dakota somewhere, and so we're working with the State Department of Commerce as to where the second location would be. So that's where we need to really sell Devils Lake to get their corporate office here, because that's only going to mean more really good jobs. That's another factor. We can get all the businesses in the world to come to Devils Lake, but we need to get good, strong paying positions. I've been more aware of it lately, just from the presentations that I've been having at Rotary, just poverty levels and things like that in Ramsey County. It's a big struggle. So we can't add more service industry jobs until we get some backbone jobs to support those service industry jobs. We need some financial growth within our community to support that. And this is what those jobs would be. It'd be starting out $25 to $30 an hour for these 100 jobs. The refinery will be built in modules. That's where they cut down on the construction time. I've already got a company that we're working with that is planning on leasing some property if this goes, and building on property close to the refinery, building modules, and then they can just be trucked over to the property and set up and well put together, and kind of like an erector set. I know it doesn't sound that easy, or Legos, but it's essentially the same concept. The reasons why they picked Devils Lake, I've heard this so many times. Why Devils Lake? Why did they look at us? A lot of businesses that come, they have so many different factors that they have to check off their list. We had every single one, and not very many communities have every single one. I'll just write down the list. Natural gas pipeline. A lot of people have natural gas in their communities, but it doesn't have the capacity. We have the capacity, and that's how the location got picked. East of town, the capacity was not supportive of a refinery. West of town, the other capacity. Luckily, I had the MDU regional manager sits on my board, and so he helped guide us in that right away in the beginning, because that was one of the first things they wanted to know, if you have natural gas. Enbridge Pipeline, their intention is in the future to be able to tap into the Enbridge Pipeline, and so virtually the Enbridge Pipeline and the MDU line cross, make an X over Devils Lake, and so I kind of refer to it as X marks the spot, and they started looking at us from the start on those factors. Highway 2 access, it's a 2-lane highway that allows them easy access to and from the Bakken. Railroad access, we have 2 rail lines that come through Devils Lake and also access our industrial park. Water availability and land availability. A lot of cities don't have water capacity, and we have more than enough water within our city limits. The bottom picture below is the property in regards to the MDU line and the Enbridge pipeline in our city location. Next page, slide 5, is the 356 acres, and the hollowed out square is the 356 acres that they have a land option on. The solid yellow square right below it, or solid yellow piece, that's our current new industrial park that we have. Our intention is, and our hope is, that with this refinery coming, that our new industrial park is going to start to fill up. And, within a week of the annexation getting approved, I had a company call and want 50 acres. I don't think that we're probably gonna look at just taking half of our industrial park and giving it to one person, but if they are serious and keep moving forward on this, we will help pursue them and other property very close. And so there's a lot of growth that can happen. There's just one company believing in your community. The below picture on slide 6 is what the Dickinson refinery looked like near completion. And so it's basically a mirror images of what Dickinson's gonna look like. We're hoping that there's a corporate office sitting in front of this one now. Next page. Those are just some preventative features that we've put into place. Some of them are through permitting. The top one is what is required by permitting right now. The bottom is what they're also putting in for redundancy factors to ensure the safety of our community. They don't want anything catastrophic to happen here any more than we do. At the end of the day, no one wants to hurt a community. And so what they've preached from the beginning and all they've ever asked us for is that we open our arms and welcome them as a good community citizen. And that's what they want to be. They haven't asked us for tax breaks, they haven't asked us for free land, they haven't asked us for free infrastructure, they haven't asked us for anything. All they've asked is that we open our arms and say, we want you as part of our community. And so I think right now we're doing a very good job of that. Going on to slide 9, North Dakota's energy environment. Right now we're the second largest oil producer in the United States. Approximately 1 million barrels a day is what is being produced out of our state. Currently, we only have the capacity for approximately $100,000. That's 100,000 barrels a day to be processed. That includes the Dickinson refinery when that gets up and running. We are still 900,000 barrels a day that is getting shipped out of North Dakota that can be kept here in our economy. The state's pipeline infrastructure is significantly insufficient, so therefore that is why you're seeing a significant amount of rail and truck traffic now. We could cut down on some of those factors. And the thing about what we need to consider is people, I know one of the things they're concerned about is the rail traffic. We've already got the rail traffic. If Grand Forks gets this refinery or someone else does because we say we don't want it, that means we got the rail traffic, we get no positives out of it. We got the trucks running through our community, we got the rails running through our community to go on to that next community that's going to get tax dollars. So either way, we're going to be affected by this. What does this mean for Devil's Lake? Property tax collection. It has the potential, and probably will. We haven't gotten to the developers agreement, but based on numbers that we're looking at right now, it will double the property tax collection on an annual basis. Right now, the property tax collection in city limits is $1.4 million. This facility would generate that itself. So $1 million, or excuse me, $3 million. $3 million would go into, would be what their property tax collection would be. That means $1 million going into the school system, $1 million into the city, and just over $1 million into the county for this property, for this, if this expansion goes through. Other things that you can't put a dollar on, new families, new financially stable families that build homes here, go to our churches, go to our schools, take part in our events, our shooting clubs, things like that, to grow our programs and invest in us. Increased business development, as I spoke before, 4 new jobs for every 1 oil refinery position. We're already seeing foot traffic on that, and a significant amount of foot traffic, which is very exciting, and hence why Amanda's with us. Infrastructure for Devil's Lake's Industrial Park, currently we do not have infrastructure out there, so therefore I can sell that to the moon. But the city's gonna have to make a $6 million investment in infrastructure to get the water out there, electricity out there, and view out there, the rail out there, to support a business coming in. However, with the location of this new refinery, if it goes through, they'll pull all that infrastructure through our property and cut down on the $6 million cost it would cost us to put it in there, and then we just pump it through. So that is the hope. Housing development, we've been struggling with housing development long before I ever showed up on board. Right now, we have a developer that is got a plan for 96 units behind Dairy Queen Max area over there that will be starting construction this spring. And then I have another housing developer that will be coming to my board to speak to them about a proposed project with a 4-phase plan, including apartment buildings, single-family homes, and townhomes, all as a phased-in project to support a refinery. That's just the growth that I'm talking about. We've been trying to get a lot of this attention for a long time because we needed it, but the Bakken screams louder than us. Those housing developers weren't coming here no matter what we enticed them with. So now we're finally getting some attention. Last page, what's next? Developers agreement. I had my first meeting on that today. We found a legal team to support us. That was a biggest accomplishment. Refineries haven't been built, so there's not a lot of expertise out there in the legal world to support us. Tom Trainer was the first one to say, we need help. We need someone that's part of the oil industry who knows what to ask for to make sure that we're protected. And so he's on the committee as well. But we found Lane Powell out of Seattle, Washington, and they have covered all of the 4 major refineries in Washington and done their projects, and so they're very involved in oil and gas. And actually, the attorneys that we're working with primarily focus just on oil and gas industry. So we feel like we've got the right people. And another factor is they're a regional firm, not a national firm. We felt like before when we had worked with Olson and Bird, maybe we kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit, that our project wasn't big enough, and we were just kind of pushed through. And with the regional firm, we'll get more of a hands-on look and focus, we're hoping.
Do they have one approximately this size?
No, because these refineries, this first one we built is Dickinson, so. But at least the safety factors, the emissions, things like that, all that, they know what to look for and what to make sure that we have in place. And they'll analyze and look at the state permitting requirements as well. And also to know, this is also where we get down to the business of what are the financial requirements to the community. So all this hits the pavement with the developer's agreement. So it's going to be a lot of in-depth work, but every blood, sweat, and tear that goes into it is going to be worth it because it's going to be a binding agreement for many years to come. So we go to the permitting phase. Right now their attorneys are looking at their permit. It is drafted, it is ready to go. As soon as their attorneys sign off on it, it will be submitted to the state. And that can take anywhere from 3 months to 9 months, depending on the in-depth or what the state puts into it. But it has come from the state that they feel that it will be the lesser of the two because it's basically a mirror image of this, and as we've already seen it. So. Engineering phase coincides with permitting, so that's 6 months phase, also a $6 million investment by this refinery. So therefore, that's why they want annexing done, that's why they want zoning done, the support of the community, because they don't want to invest $6 million in engineering, and then also their costs into the permitting, if we're going to turn around and say, we don't want you. That's a significant investment on this project. And then after all that hits and is completed, we go to the construction phase, which is 2 years, and it will be operational. After that, their hope is that they're operational in 2017. They would ideally like to break ground this fall. Any questions?
One question I have, what help you need from the county? What do you need us to help you with?
Nothing at this point. We're juggling it. I think the biggest thing is the developer's agreement. Once we can get that off our plates, then it's kind of between, on the refinery itself, we've done all the grassroots part of it, and it's been quite a project. As far as, it's been the biggest thing that's happened in Devil's Lake ever. Therefore, with anything that's new, it's scary. And we understand that. When I first got the call on refineries, my first initial reaction was, I do not want a refinery. I thought of the Bakken, I thought of Wilson, I thought of oil. I don't want to raise my family in that. As I got educated on what it actually means, it's not the Bakken. It's not, it's a manufacturing plant. It'd be no different than a power plant that comes here or anything like that. It is stable, good paying jobs, community members. They aren't transient. So as I got more educated on the whole process, and I got really excited about it, but with that, we knew we had to do a lot of education. So we put in place the town hall meetings. All of that took a lot of work. But I think every piece of it was well worth the energy it took. And my board needs to be commended for all the work and effort. Every one of them, they should have been collecting a paycheck since September because they put in enough work for it. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I think in the end, Devil's Lake will reap the reward for this, and it's exciting for us.
Of note, I'd like you guys to know that the city did pass the agreement to hire this new firm for the developers agreement at their meeting last night. Isn't that right, Rachel?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Any questions? I know I went past my 15 minutes, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
You said
Yeah,
that
go ahead, Adam.
there's a 24-month construction phase. How long did it take to do Dickinson?
They were slotted on the 24-month, they had it up and running, and then they ran into issues mechanically inside of how it functioned.
So they were able to get
Yep,
it
the structure
basically
was
built in 2 years.
Yep.
The other thing is, you mentioned this, we're talking about the possibility of a second refinery.
Mhm.
Would they be doing that following
Yeah.
completing this, I
Yep.
would assume?
Yep,
Yeah, because I mean, the two things that came up in the due diligence seem to be,
well,
do they have the finances to pull it off?
and I can assure you they do.
I hope they do.
The one thing is, we gotta remember, is this is a private business. They aren't obligated to share their financials with anyone.
No, I know.
And so that's what I think people who read the due diligence, they right away were like, they don't have the money. They do, I can assure you they do. In fact, I know when they're meeting with their investors, and I know a lot of things that I can't share. However, it is a private business, and that's their own perspective to keep it quiet. And most people who have private business, especially when you're talking $300 million, are not sharing that with anybody. If they have the money, they want to come in here and do it, and they've spent the money on all of this so far, they're serious.
The other question would be, in the developers agreement, you know, like the Mandan refinery, for instance, has changed hands several times.
Mhm.
Is that part of the developers agreement, that they would have to own and run the refinery for a certain amount of time before they can sell it off to somebody else?
I don't know, I think that's a good question. I can propose it to Lane Powell and see what they've seen in the past, if it's something that we should.
Just out of
Yeah.
curiosity's
Yeah, I
sake,
know.
because I mean, you know, we're vetting this company,
Mhm.
and we're talking to them, and we're making sure they know what they're doing, and we're comfortable
Yeah.
with them. You know, if they were to run into something like a money issue, cash flow issue, or they looked and said, we can flip this for a good profit because it's built and we did the work.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's a
do
good
we want to
point.
give ourselves some protection so that they don't flip it to somebody that we don't know square one about?
The one thing that is really neat is the CEO that'll be coming here, his name is Dr. Jerry Bailey. He's a really neat man. He's wrote books, he's on, I mean, he flies over to China, they used to email me his interviews that he gets on their national TV in China in regards to oil discussion, and he's a pretty high up in the oil industry. He ran oil refineries in Libya. He's very intelligent. You talk to this man, and it's kind of intimidating almost a little bit, but he's one that will be coming to Devil's Lake and getting it started and training someone to take over his position in a few years. And it's really awestruck that Devil's Lake's going to get someone of this caliber coming here to believe in us. And the one thing about this company is they haven't built refineries. This investment company, what it is they picked the best of the best. They picked this engineering company, Triad Engineer out of Calgary, Canada. Then they picked Jerry Bailey out of Houston, Texas. They've got a finance guy out of Seattle. They've got developers, project managers out of the East Coast. They picked the best of the best to make this one project have the best kickoff. It's really kind of neat how they've walked through this whole process.
Have they done this anywhere else?
No,
They've never built one.
not a refinery, no. Jerry Bailey has. That's why they have him on staff.
Okay.
And actually, Triad Engineering, they have built refineries. And, so that's where it's, the investment group has never financially invested in a refinery before. However, they've set this up as a company, American Dakota Refinery, and placed these people in place that have done.
Is there room for expansion to this 20,000
Um,
barrels? We held that 20,000 barrels for,
It'll be held at 20,000 barrels by their permit. I think the land, well, and they want to have a buffer anyway from other properties.
Mhm.
So I think that, and we made them, they were looking for 300 acres. We made them buy that 56-acre piece to connect them to our property. There is land available, but again, they're held by their permit. So they would have to go through all of this with the state if they ever wanted to expand or what have you. But the main thing is they wanted land for a buffer to the agriculture around them and things like that.
Are there going to be?
Also, Rick, could you explain a little bit about the fact that you have entities that are looking at possibly using byproducts from the refinery to begin their own businesses?
Yeah, this refinery is only going to produce diesel as their main thing, and then there's a few other off pieces. But for the most part, the excess they're going to be selling off, and so what they call them is heavy and lights. I've learned so much about the oil industry in the last 6 months. Then there's a company that, a business that is built off of buying the heavies or the lights to make butane or propane or what have you, that they refine it further and make their product. There's already been some traffic on that as to what's available in our industrial parks, because it'd be an easy pipeline from the refinery to ours to have the heavies and the lights just put right directly into another business essentially. So it's business development potential for them.
Are there any plans for future community meetings or anything like that once you get the developers agreement done and things like that, just for information purposes?
I believe with the permitting, the state might do one, but as far as us, my work is done.
Yeah, I assume the state's probably gonna have something with the air
Yeah,
quality and all
yeah.
that comes up, so. So we'll have opportunity still to learn what's going on.
Yep, oh yeah, and I will always be doing coffee time and speaking at these things, you know, I've never turned down anybody for a speaking engagement I've gone to. I don't know how many service clubs and organizations and boards, and I'm happy to do it. So the thing is just let me know when you want me to come, and I'll certainly come.
Well, and also, I'd like the rest of the commission to know that Forward Devils Lake has gone so far and away above what other communities have done. There's never been a public forum, a town hall meeting in the Dickinson area before they built their refinery. There was never a due diligence report done before that refinery was built. Forward Devils Lake takes their responsibility to the entire community very, very seriously. And I think the fact that they have gone out on a limb to find out everything there is to know that they can possibly learn about this is just proof positive of their commitment to the community.
I have a question, if I can. This company, American Dakota Refinery, do they have someone or a committee or a team in place for their emergency plans? Or do they contact, individuals from the city and the county, like myself, to, come up with an all-inclusive or to work it into my current plans that I have for the county for any kind of such type of an emergency, whether it's a natural disaster or man-made?
They'll have, for the most part, all of that on staff. However, once it's put in place, when they start, this stuff will kind of start to get finalized during construction phase. Once their project is actually finalized, then they will work with the city in educating and training our current staff. But our city may be a backup, but like they're going to have their own fire department, they're going to have their own everything on site.
If they could, and with you in coordination and talking to them, I would like to be, a part of all of that information. Yep. I would like to be included and work it in, because I would like to have portions of that, into my local emergency operations plan here on the county side as well.
Yep, when we get to that part of the project, we will.
Okay, food for thought.
And we're currently working on that plan, so anything that you can help to, and we talked about it at the first meeting, that, in the future, the past plans you haven't been able to interject new things into them until you come up with a new plan in, 7 years or
This
whatever.
time though, with this plan,
But this plan,
we'll have that exception clause basically where we can implement, new things and add it into the plan even before our 5-year term is up with FEMA.
And it just makes a comfort zone for the community to know that it's in the emergency management.
Yep, and there'll be strict guidelines. In fact, a lot of that is laid out in the permitting process as well, what the requirements are. And so they've got to get through this. The next 6 months will be very time consuming on their part and very time intensive in working on an actual project, and then they can start working on some of those factors.
Might be something that you can mention when you're in conversations with them.
And they know about that. That's been their plan all along. It's they have to have the city involved and the county involved. They have to. I mean, it's a regulation.
On a side note, I think one of the things that emergency management locally can do to assure safety in the community is to work on the plan for rail derailment. And if that's in place before this refinery is ever completed, that will show our community that we are on top of it. So I think that would be one thing that could be done before this refinery ever gets built.
Kristen, you wanna comment on that?
I won't say that I have anything specific for, one plan specific for rail, derailment. It's
Well,
kind
I
of,
think that would be more important than, hurricane or a cyclone going through Devil's Lake at this point in time, because if people ask what the most imminent danger is, that's what they're gonna say.
well, actually, Myrna, we have a training
It's
coming
a
up.
rail derailment. A rail derailment is the big thing that everyone talks about on the street.
We have quarterly, meetings with all of our first responders, and I go as well, being the emergency manager, and we, have had extensive conversations, and we are going to plan start it out at your tabletop level, move it up to your full scale, for a trail derailment exercise, and we want to pull in, those members and team players, from the Castleton derailment up here and have like basically a guest panel speaker and implement those resources in to help us better prepare for if something were to happen here. So there are things in the works. It's not something I haven't thought of, or, our fire departments, police departments, law, all of those agencies and entities. So it is working. It's, right now, I can't say that we have one specific plan for train derailment. We do have our multi-hazard mitigation plan plus our emergency operations plan, which works with all of our first responding agencies in coordination and in injunction with, if something like this were to happen, these are the steps you take.
Okay. That's good, we'll look forward to further findings there. Thank you, Rachel, for all your help. If there's one request I would have, keep us informed.
Do
Keep
you
the
want
county
me
informed.
to come like on a quarterly basis? Or-
We can stay in contact and
Yeah,
take
just
from
let me
there.
know if you guys, a lot of stuff, and the thing about economic development, a lot of it doesn't change fast.
Like
So-
you said, the property tax benefit to the county is over $1 million.
It's huge, it's,
That's quite,
and, I think the biggest thing that comes along with it, like I said, with anybody, is the unknown is scary. I mean, it was for me as well. And I'm a firm believer that this will get up and running, and a year or two after operations, it will be a non-existent issue. It'll be no different than.
I think you're doing a very good job.
Yeah, thank you.
I think you're doing a
Right,
excellent job.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's the RC.
Okay, we'll move down, take Otter Tail Power Company, put the poles on the right of way, number 2. Go ahead, guys. Let's get some introductions here.
I'm Carl Blumhardt with Otter Tail. I'm land rights and permitting. This is Wayne Thompson. He's our local engineer.
Okay.
What we have at hand is on Highway 2 east here, the old Highway 2 that is. We got some poles that are in the water, and I know I talked to Kevin earlier about this, and we're hoping to get those poles up and out of the water and around. And I know that was quite a bit close. I think we were at 10 or 12 feet. During that time, I asked Kevin, where could we be? And the clear zone was established at 30 to 35 feet. When we went out there and looked at where that 30 feet comes out, it's right where the riprap meets the water, which doesn't really do any good for us. So what we're looking at proposing to do is to go at 22.5 feet, ask you guys for a variance or an exception to go at 22.5 feet, which puts the poles in the riprap, and see if we can do something along those lines.
Hi, Myrna.
Hi, I'm sorry. I shut off after an hour and 15 minutes, so I have to call back.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Otter Tail.
So we're looking for a variance to see if we can go at 22.5 feet from the edge of the bituminous down into the riprap.
Okay, help us out with the map. The green line is where your poles are now, no, the red line.
No, the blue line's
Blue line.
Blue line's existing.
Red proposed.
There's blue line on the south side of the road.
Yep.
Yeah,
Green line is right away, correct?
yes, yeah,
Red line is proposed.
yep. And the closest, an anchor or pole, because we could do what's called a slack span. You'd stop at a dead end and then you'd slack it over and then go straight. You can kind of see it on the map there. And then that would get us 22.5 feet, would put us into the riprap. That's the edge of driving surface. the bituminous. And we're just looking to see if that's something that would be acceptable for the county, or if that's not gonna work either, or if we need to look at other alternative plans.
What's, and the blue lines where the poles are now?
Yes,
How come you don't wanna go there again?
because they're in the water.
Yeah, there's actually 4 poles in the water there. That water's about 10 feet deep. A couple of poles have been damaged already.
Okay.
Typically what happens in the spring is the ice is thawing, the wind blows, and shifts moves that ice around, it's banging the poles, damaging the poles. No adventure break along, so.
There's like 3 poles in the water?
Well, there's actually 4.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, you can see the water line now.
The far west pole's not, the water's not near deep there, but the
Yeah.
other 3 are.
The other ones are right in the middle of it. And, I think there's one of them that's starting to do a little tilt job too, so.
Yeah.
How close are these poles gonna be to the highway?
22.5 feet from the edge of bituminous.
And the old poles are how far away from the highway?
They're right out at that 75 feet area.
Kevin, you got any thoughts? You've seen this before, right, Kevin?
This is the first time I've seen the map, but I have
Okay.
a vision in my head.
Okay.
Do we have any other places in the county where we get closer than 75 feet?
I don't think so.
I can't think of any DOT uses.
We
I
don't
just
have
said,
any
we don't
other,
have any other places where you do anything like this, everything else is 75 feet or close to, whatever.
Not as far as poles, we've got some buried lines, but I can't think of any where there's any, there probably is, I just can't think of.
Yeah, but there's nothing where we swing in this close.
Right, this is, yeah.
You're not considering burying the line?
No, excuse me, this voltage, our standard practice is not to bury it.
You can't bury it.
No, it's a, excuse me, a higher voltage line, that won't bury.
22 feet, that's already from here to the wall.
Yeah,
It's close, yeah.
I think your word close.
Kevin and Paul, you guys know what the zone is there?
At that speed, what do you say, 26 feet?
If it's under 750 vehicles per day, that's, at their design speed of 65, that'll be 26 feet from the edge of the driving lane. So that's the DOT standard is.
Okay.
What was that, Paul?
The DOT standard is 26 feet from the edge of the driving lane at 65 miles an hour with under 750 vehicles per day, and I don't know what the traffic count is out there.
It's over that.
It's over that? Yeah.
So then the next step up from there is 36 feet.
What's our traffic gonna be, 850 or so?
It's probably over 1,000 right there.
Yeah.
There.
There's a note saying that clear zone may be limited to 30 feet for practicality.
Clear zone being from the white line, not from the edge of Tunis.
Yeah, the edge of the driving lane.
The white line,
Yep,
but not, that's not the edge of Tunis.
right.
So that'd be a foot. I mean, there it works there.
26 feet would be from the edge of the, from the center of the road?
No, from
Edge of the way.
the shoulder, from the,
On the edge.
white line on the edge of the road.
So basically, you're gonna have 23 feet here or so, right now, because you'd have to add that extra foot of pavement or,
There's about a foot of pavement between the white lines.
so you'd be 23 instead of 26. Are there any opportunities to go south with it around and bring it back north, or, I mean, are there other options instead of doing this, I guess is what I'm asking.
At this time, we haven't considered any other options. To reroute would be a lot larger project. You know, here we're looking at 8 poles total. To reroute it, that would be a lot larger project. So.
To go south and around, you mean, and on the shore or something here? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you meant, Adam?
Yeah, I'm just asking if there's any other options, yeah, have you looked at anything other than this?
Where's the 8 poles at then?
Those would be the red poles, the
Oh,
red
okay.
circles.
Yeah, because you'd have to set new poles in where you're gonna do the slack to go sideways.
Right, yeah, the slack would be right there, and
Yeah,
that's kind of what's,
set the pole back.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what that looks like, yeah.
you mentioned 10 feet was a little bit too deep for water depth in your eyes. Is there any way that you could go a little bit closer to the shore on each side and do a clear span with a higher pole and reach a 4 foot or something like that to keep it out there? I went out there and looked at it in the original plan, and the guide wires that were coming in, I mean, the stakes that you had there looked awfully close.
Yeah.
And even the riprap is fairly close, so, you know, we have liability with cars going off right there if they ran into that riprap as well, so.
It's a good question though, Bill. We have considered that. That's actually one of the options we did consider was trying to long span it, but it's too long. You're looking at 1,500 feet here to get across that water. That takes some pretty tall poles.
And what kind of a structure would it take to put out in that deep water that would hold the ice? You know, so you could put a structure and then riprap that structure up so that the ice wouldn't affect the pole, like they did going across the lake south of.
Yeah, we'd have to build some islands out there, you mean, what you're referring to. Yeah, we could, it's another option. We haven't considered that as, but to build islands out there, riprap around.
And like they did going across the lakes south of Kostekis there, heading over Grams Island, or something like that. On a lot smaller scale, but.
You want to do something this spring before the ice goes out?
Yeah, that was our hope, is to try to do it here as soon as we could before the ice goes off.
What do you think, Lonnie?
Well, it's the commission's call. You know, obviously, you'd be looking at safety issues. So I would assess you can not grant it and request and let them figure out some other option, whether it's Commissioner Mertens' suggestion to build islands or go through the Hollies property around to the south. You know, however you want to do it, since it's your right of way. And obviously the liability issues are a concern. If a car hits the ditch and the poles are out 70 feet from the edge of the road, possibility of hitting a pole if you slip on some frosty roadway. The other option is allow it to go in and put up one heck of a big guardrail along the way. I haven't heard that talked about. However you want to do it. It's your property as commission. You got to look out for the safety of the public and your own liability.
Guardrails, snow problem.
Yeah,
Kevin?
I don't like the concept of a guardrail, because that's gonna get shown like crazy.
Well, I hate to put you people in a predicament, but, I don't know,
It's kind of similar.
I don't really need to take a vote, I don't think, on this issue. It's not gonna fly, so.
Well, we really weren't looking for a response today. We just wanted to present our project and explain and answer your questions. We were kind of viewing it from the standpoint, it's kind of similar to a line we built last year on Highway 57 from Camp Crafton down to Casino. We've got it up on the shoulder of the road there. It's right at the edge of the riprap. And worked with the DOT on that project, because I was the Corps of Engineers of the city and Camp Crafton. So we were looking at it from a similar standpoint of trying to get the poles up on the shoulder of the road, having all the water, but yet have them as close to the riprap or slightly into the riprap, just to kind of work with everybody as far as you're concerned.
How far off the road are they out there? I mean, I've been that way, but I guess I don't pay any attention, so.
It kind of varies. There's not a specific distance. The DOT's requirement was that we were at the edge of the riprap, and that riprap varied, I think, from, I don't know, 35 feet to maybe 25 feet, yeah.
That's the line that just went in last winter,
Last summer, yeah.
last summer, or, yep, early spring. So you're suggesting that we take a look and go out there and take a look and review that new points on this particular project out there, so we can drive out there and take a look at where that pole setting would be sitting?
No, we haven't done any surveying since.
Can you do that?
We can, yes. We have.
And take the ones that are there down and put the new ones in place so we can take a visual of that, and then I'll make a motion to reserve judgment on this till the next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to that effect. Discussion, Adam or Mark?
I like the concept of taking it, just taking a look at it and then comparing it to what they have on 57 there, and then,
I don't wanna lead these guys down the wrong road.
no, I don't either.
And,
But I recall going south on Highway 20 quite a bit, and there, those poles are in a similar situation. So that'd be a visual of something that has been approved for us to look at.
I mean, you said it was too far to clear span, is it possible just to put tall poles on either side and then just do like one island, and so you can get it high enough?
That'd be an extra engineering feat, I
Yeah.
suppose.
I know, but I mean, there are other options if this doesn't work. I mean, it's,
I used to start getting thinner probably about the end of the month, so.
Where did the 30 to 35 feet come, right at the edge of the water?
Yeah, when they went out there, Wayne and the surveyors, I believe, they went out there just to pull out to see where that 30 feet was, and I think you said that they were right, kind of where the riprap meets the water.
Yeah, 30 feet was really close to water. It wasn't in the water, it was really close.
35 feet,
30
feet.
30.
I think 30 would be acceptable in my mind, but whatever, if you guys wanna look at 22, it'd be another chance to look.
You think right at the edge of the water at 30 feet?
Yeah.
They could rip wrap more there. I mean, we have no problem as a county allowing that, right, if they wanted to put more rip wrap around their poles.
Right. That's where the clear zone would be too, then.
Meet state guidelines.
I really believe we should look at that option. I mean, 22 feet, I think is what you said?
22 and a half.
Also, Paul, could we look
About
at
30
maybe
feet
reducing
compared to
speed limit into that area so that we could make some,
What's that, reduce it?
reducing from 65, like a 55 mile an hour zone or a 50 mile an hour zone through there too? I know there's several approaches there too, so, I mean, we might be able to justify a lower speed limit right through that zone.
Would be real popular.
Let's not set up more speed traps.
Yeah, I don't know how well it'd be followed, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
But it's an option, but.
What do you think,
it doesn't
Paul? You
reduce
think
the-
that 30 feet, you know, if they rip wrap their poles so they can move out? What we said, they moved out to 35 feet. Would that be acceptable to you
Well,
as an engineer?
Well, that, yeah, I mean, I guess you could make that exception. And I guess at the 55 mile an hour design speed, that's what the clear zone is 30 feet from the edge of the driving lane. And it doesn't seem like it'd be that tough to put it there either. I mean, if it's at the edge of the riprap, if you riprap around it, you'd still have to make sure that your slopes coming into it from each direction were 8 to 1 or flatter in the riprap.
Okay. We've got a motion in a second, but you've got to get it back farther than 22 feet. I mean, it just, like I said, we could take a vote today and I know it wouldn't pass, so. Something's got to, and I know you're up against the clock, you know, the sun, the melt or whatever, and if you want to do something this spring, you know, you're gonna have to have another plan for us, I feel.
Sure.
Sure. Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, one more question. Are the poles in good enough shape to make the season?
I don't know.
That's a tough call.
Yeah.
Okay. We wouldn't want one breaking off and then be out of service in that area. It would affect a large area, I'm sure.
Well, actually, that particular line runs from Devil's Egg to Curry, Loyne. It's down the line, so to speak. It runs from town to town, and so that some towns could experience an outage, but the line itself is roof fed, so to speak. It's fed from both ends, so to speak. So even if there is an outage, it's just hopefully a short matter of time we can serve from the other direction, restore service.
If you wanted to come up with a plan in a week, I think the commission would be very much open to a special meeting to hear this plan, so you guys could move forward this spring, this month, you know, to try to do labor work and get things ready. If you have, you gotta get them off farther than 20 feet.
Yeah. And if I understand things correct, I'm hearing 30 feet.
I think that would be acceptable by the old plan.
You think 30, yeah, or 35?
35 would be out in water, but yeah.
35 would be in the water, yeah.
Is that acceptable? Between 30 and 35 feet? We don't want to give you false hope. We don't want to do that, so.
Well, to be honest, we put the poles at 35 feet, they're still in the water, and I don't think we're really gonna gain anything by doing that, so I don't really feel that's the best option. I think we need to consider some other options that could be better.
Okay.
The water there is down about at least a couple of feet from when we raised the road through there too.
Went up 5.
Or no, that we didn't raise that one, did we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that was raised.
You wanna table this for 1 week and have a special meeting when they come up with a different engineering plan, or how do you wanna
Yes,
do this?
yes, Myrna, that's kind of what we're talking about,
Well,
if they can come up with a plan. So. If that's necessary, let us know and we'll call a special meeting, so.
Yeah, I don't know if they have a new plan ready in a week. Might take us longer.
Okay.
If not, we need 2 weeks. Forcing it in 2 weeks.
The motion was till the next meeting, so whether that be a week or 10 days or 2 weeks,
Okay.
let us know.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Okay.
Thank you.
gentlemen. Kevin, go ahead.
Okay, if you have, go on to number 2 there, if you haven't heard by now, John Deere has agreed to rent tractors to the government agencies this year. But the rental rate is gonna be $12.60 an hour, and we have to guarantee them 250 hours. In other words, we have to pay for 250 hours even if we don't use them. So that means it'll cost $3,150 for each tractor, and we usually rent 2 of them, so. Guess I'm looking for a motion to go ahead and pursue that.
Can you get to, I'll make a motion to pursue it, just so we can get on to discussion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Go ahead, discussion, questions.
So can you guarantee us 250 hours on each one, just doing what you regularly do, or?
We never do put 250 on,
But how many hours have they gotten in the past, because there'd be other people that would use them as well, right?
usually not. The city, I guess, would maybe borrow them, but they're looking at maybe doing this themselves. We usually get about 200 hours, so we'd be paying for 50 hours that we're gonna do.
So you'd have to be looking for like a farmer to rent them to mow cattails or something like that for 50 hours on each tractor.
Yeah, I guess we.
Where's the liability go then?
Yeah, right.
Well, doesn't that happen?
No.
But those are just strictly your tractors, those aren't the ones that go out for the
No.
NRCS or anything. So, okay.
Those are somebody else's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is your own track.
1260, that's pretty good rate.
It is, especially, they've been free in the past, but that's still exceptional rate.
Might be able to find some another 50 hours of work to do with it.
Might, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe the airport can use it out, well,
Yep. Yeah, or
stuff like that.
people that we have agreements with would probably be notified to spend a little time with them.
Okay, any
We
other
don't want to
questions?
go over.
That seems reasonable.
Any other questions? A motion, do we have a second? Have a roll call.
Heisler,
I,
Burns,
Aye.
Lightfon.
Aye.
Olson,
Alright.
Crum.
Go ahead, Kevin.
And then I'd like to have a motion that just, at this point, advertise for graveling, Turnback 17, which goes east and west of Starkweather, for road oil, for hot mix, and for our chip seal project next year, which is up
I'll
like
make that motion.
We have a motion for that,
Second.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
And those bids go for 3 weeks, so we won't have results till 1st April.
Okay,
The speed limit on Ramsey County 4, when the county went through and changed all the speed limits on the roads, Ramsey County 4 north of Doyen hadn't been fixed yet, so we left that at 55 miles an hour, and now since then we've done an overlay and it's in good shape and it's much smoother now, so that road and the Woods Rutten Road are 55 miles an hour. I don't know if we want to change those to 65 now or just a thought. I don't know what you guys think. Leave them like they are. Or...
I have a question for Lonnie. Does that increase our liability if we do that?
Well, the speed limits are always dependent upon whether the highways are built to certain specifications. So if the highways are built to the proper specifications to support that speed limit, then we should be fine.
Okay, that was my only question, because, you know, we do have speed, that is a speed trap there, that Woods Retton Road especially, I'm not as familiar with County 4, but that Woods Retton Road is a speed trap. You have the state patrol sitting there all the time, and, you know, it's paved and built up now, I don't see any reason why it couldn't be 65.
At the curves, it naturally slows down, but that's straight away.
They're posted.
Yeah, the curves are posted, right?
Yeah, yes, they are.
So 4 there has been 55 simply because they left it at that level, because it wasn't fixed up at that point.
Correct.
Okay, I always wondered if it was because of width or something like that, but it's no narrower than 3 or anything like that.
No, it's just, that it was before that overlay was done, and it was just rough, and
Going through the sloughs, that Fenster slough though, I mean, that 65 is
we could
awful
slow it
speed.
down for those curves.
Awful speed there, and then the transition between the pavement and the gravel at the Brockett.
Oh, yeah, that changes for sure.
I mean, that's a terrible transition there, it's gotta get worked on if we're gonna do that, in my eyes.
Really, it's gravel 55 up there, right?
Gravel's 55,
That's what it is now, 55?
Yep, the whole road is 55.
Yeah,
Well,
where it turns to gravel, you would leave it at 55, right?
Yeah. Around the curves, it slowed down.
Yeah,
Is Fencer Slough is posted around the curve, is there?
What's it posted at 50?
I
think we got advisory 45.
But we haven't posted though, so we
Well,
wouldn't
yeah,
have to change
advisory.
it, we wouldn't have to change anything there.
No.
We got the yellow signs, the curb signs with, I think, the speed underneath, don't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's just advisory though, you don't, they can't always, like a police officer, I don't think they can stop you for that.
But we'll look at those curves, see if they're safe for 65, they might not be.
Okay.
The curbs
it
are-
would bring
designed for
continuity to the
65.
rest of the system though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the rest of the system, all the asphalt roads are 65, except these two.
So other than those concerns, I haven't got any issues with it changing myself.
What'd you say, Bill?
I don't have any issues with it changing myself, other than those things that I brought up.
South of the rest area, it's a definite speed trap, there's no question.
I'm gonna make a motion to raise it to 65 on both those areas we're talking about.
Okay, we have a motion to that effect, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
I guess one thing, you might wanna adjust the no passing zones.
No passing zone,
Yeah,
make it longer.
right, or the distance changes for the speed limit.
Sounds good.
And I can't remember if we adjusted that already figuring this was coming on Ramsey 4 when we overlaid it back in 08.
Right, what do you think is adjusted?
It might be, I can't remember for sure.
That's a good idea, Paul, thank you.
We physically have to measure that?
Well, or, yeah, we could
Send
add
somebody
some
out.
into it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, the discussion on the Penn motor grader, I think most of you know what the transmission went out of that. And I guess I just brought it up, I don't know if we need a motion to go ahead and spend that money, or how you wanna handle that, or then.
I'll move to fix the transmission on the Denver motor grader.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to that effect. We haven't started working on it? No.
Oh yeah, it's done, it's back
It's
in
done,
service.
okay, good.
Just for the record.
What was the total cost?
I haven't got a bill yet.
Okay.
Were they open to your discussion on,
Yeah, we're still arm wrestling to see how much it's gonna be, but 15,000 was the max, and we're still working on getting that lower.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I'll spend the money resolution?
We better have a roll call.
He's gonna bring the bill, right, Kevin?
But yeah, I don't have a bill yet, but
It will be over the amount though, so.
Lycon.
Aye.
Olson.
All right,
Burns.
Aye.
Heisler.
Aye.
Brown.
aye.
and then just for information, the meeting date to explain how Senate Bill 2103 is gonna work will be March 12th from 10 to 2 in the courthouse basement. it's roughly gonna be the same as the bill 2 years ago. There might be some small changes, but
How close are we to have some projects ready?
I guess.
I guess, you emailed Brian about whether we had to re-advertise or not, right?
Yes,
Did he respond yet?
he said that, just on the phone, we have to look at how it was advertised, how it was worded when we advertised for engineering.
Yeah.
And as long as it was advertised as a whole project, we'll be okay. There's hoops we have to jump through, and we're trying to find out from Brian whether we have to advertise for engineering again for these projects. But as long as they were phased, like Ramsey 8 was the whole project, and we phased it in 2 phases, and the same way with the truck route, we phased it in 2 phases. So we may be able to use our old advertisement for engineering, which is gonna speed things up. If we have to advertise for engineering again, it's under 3 weeks, so.
Okay. We'll have more information at the next meeting on that.
Yeah, I think, if we get the okay, we'll probably just go ahead and start designing it. Have KLJ start designing it. That'll speed things up, and we'll have that project ready quicker.
And then to be on the safe side, do you wanna wait until after the meeting on the 12th? What's up?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, wait till,
Well,
When Brian gives you okay, go ahead.
yep.
Yep.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Anything else, Kevin?
No, that's all I have.
You want the water board now, or? How do you guys go?
No, I guess there's no.
I can go snag them. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're gonna pick up the speed here.
Is it possible for you to call it?
You call us in and
I think proposal come through on there. Okay, I'll do that so I can call in on my way back.
No.
I have a funeral to go to.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
Oh, here, I was like, he's
all dressed up.
Yeah.
Dress up anyway.
He does.
No, I have a funeral to go to, so I'm not ducking on purpose. I told, my mother-in-law was good enough to make it until 11 o'clock, we were hoping to be done by now, but
That was your,
my wife's grandmother.
okay. Oh, I did remember that.
You lived a good life, you made it to 100, so.
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
Actually, had his 100th birthday party last July, so it was quite the life he lived.
Yes, it is.
He's a good man too. Very good man.
Yeah, if you live to 100, that's a pretty good life. See you later.
Okay, I'll call in when I get out the vehicle here.
More siding here, or
Yes, please.
every day?
No, just that one and that one. This one.
Is that agreement, or?
That's the treasurer's checks.
That bottom agreement on that one, or?
Yeah, we got that.
Okay.
And then these are all grant money. There's a lot of silence.
They got confidence, just don't shoot
That's Mark has now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I think they got a little bit to do by the looks of it.
Keep on, keep going.
I think so. I think they got some stuff to do over there. I made the motion and they all shook their heads. Yeah, they do. Which is confirmed, I think, never get to one board. Doesn't look like a mountain, they're placing most of the.
Okay, we'll move forward with unfinished business, discuss the planning and zoning board to meet.
I just want to comment, I guess because I sit on the planning and zoning board, I would like to actually be able to be there. And I can't do that, with the preliminary plans. I would like to see us wait until April to, have important because I think we have to decide what we want for our planning and zoning board. We've got 2 members of the city commission on the planning and zoning board, and I'm not sure that that's how we want to operate. I need to know more about the planning and zoning board before I think I can make any real intelligent decisions. And since we haven't met for over 2 years, I'm thinking that another 30 days is too much difference. I don't think there's any rush to get into anything.
Okay, is there any other thoughts on that? That was a motion, Myrna, you made?
Well, I just wanted to throw it out there. If you want me to put it in the form of a motion, I certainly will. But I think that I need to learn a little more about the ground rules and how the county and the township are involved in this as a cross section, and what we need to do as a county zoning and planning board. And some of these different issues that were brought up at the last meeting. Enbridge doesn't need anything done until, late summer, so I don't see any reason why we are in a rush to get this meeting put in place.
When are you gonna be back, Myrna, so we can try to plan that then?
About April 3rd. So if we, anything after Easter would be
Okay.
fine with me.
When was the last time they met, Elizabeth?
June 4th, 2012.
Basically, we just meet when they have something going on, but we weren't involved with the Enbridge pipeline at that stage of the game. We didn't have a chairman at the last meeting, so there was nobody to call the meeting, but some of the things that, Myrna, you still there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, Adam's coming
Adam's
across.
on the other one.
Oh, Adam's coming on the other one. A couple of the things that I wanted to bring up was that Senate Bill 2024, and that's going through. I think there's some discussion on that at the legislative level this week. And what that is it's as of now, the way the law is written, once a township gives up their zoning rights to the county, or once they take them away from the county and take them up on themselves, then there was no opportunity for them to relinquish them back to the county. And I think out west they're seeing a lot of townships that don't believe that they can handle the growth and everything, so they want to give their rights back to the county to take care of it under the county's planning and zoning. And that would go back to their comprehensive plan and everything else to start any discussions. So I think Senate Bill 2024 is going to give them the opportunity to do that again. Maybe it's only a one-time, I don't know how it's going to pan out, but that's what I understand. And so I was going to talk about that a little bit at that meeting. And then, interesting enough, Rachel would be, it'd be nice to have her come give that presentation to that board as well, and she's open to do that. So, but that can all wait. You know, we can wait with that if you'd like to. So.
Okay. Well, maybe we should wait till after the Senate's done, because all 2024 pans out is going to have a few things to do with that board.
Yeah. So did we, Elizabeth, did we make any contact with the people that were on the board? Not yet. So, yeah, okay, that's probably a good enough suggestion.
I'm trying to read here, what's their term limits?
They're indefinite on the,
The 2 county commissioners are indefinite.
a lot of times
Two county
since the,
commissioners.
Well, I think the city is too.
since the city is part of the county, that's the reason why those members were on the board for growth outside. And those are the townships
That's not the
that
question
were,
I asked, I said they're indefinite too, the 2 cities.
Yeah.
And then the other members are 4 and 3.
Their terms are up or not?
I'd have to look at the schedule. I don't think they're up yet.
Probably check that out in the future. Okay.
12/31 of 2015, it looks like 3 of them come up, and the other one is 17. Or 2 are 17.
2 are 17 and the other 3.
2 are 17 and 3 are 15.
Okay.
12/31.
Yeah, 2 17s and 3.
people get more involved and less involved in that planning and zoning as things happen in their areas. So that's a good reason for the changeover in the other people.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion then to postpone it until, April, and then I'll leave it up to Betty to, set a date.
Okay, we have a second, Mark? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion. Adam, you're all right with that? Adam, you there? Lost it up with his cell phone. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Water board.
I guess we really haven't got anything for you,
Okay,
but we've got people over there today discussing snagging and clearing, and we're in the middle of that right now, so. You got anything for us, or,
no.
like goodness?
You got your hands full, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, with that, we're going to the farm, some more unfinished business, farm exception. Was that new business?
No, we discussed it at the last meeting, the farm exception.
Okay.
So we got Jerry in the room for this?
Yep.
Terry's in
Yes.
the room,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, where are we going? Jerry, you got something?
No, I guess I wasn't contacted, I just seen it was on the agenda, so I came.
I didn't put it on the agenda, but I have some information that I'd like to hand out with it. I'm sorry I didn't get that scanned and sent to you, Myrna, but my scanner didn't want to cooperate with me last night, so. What it is just the application for property tax exemption for farm residents, is what we're
I
looking at.
have a copy of it.
Okay, so if you'll have that out, what I'd like to point out is that right at the very, very top, just like the other exemptions, the veterans and the homestead credits, this application says that it must be filed every year on or before February 1st, for which the exemption is being requested. I know this hasn't been done, but it is a law, and I'd like to see that that we start following the law on it. Some of the categories that we've been talking about and been up for discussion is when you get down to the select one category that applies. It says, is the residence located on a tract of contiguous tracts of agricultural land containing 10 or more acres farmed by the occupant. And number 4 is the $40,000 limit on non-farm income. Further goes on to the general provisions where it just basically says that a residence located on a tract of contiguous tracts of agricultural land, whether owned or rented, containing less than 10 acres, is not exempt. That I don't believe is up for discussion because it goes further into it under the North Dakota Century Code 570208, number 14B, where it says it is the intent of the Legislative Assembly that this exemption is applied to residents must be strictly construed and interpreted to exempt only a residence that is situated on a farm, with a farm being further described as containing no less than 10 acres and used as part of a farm plant. So I think that one's very, very clear and should be looked at. And whereas the $40,000 one is up for discussion because that only has to be met every 3 years. And the exemption says every year. We did get an email that said that some counties only send it out every 3rd year because it only has to be brought into compliance once out of every 3 years. So That one could be up for interpretation, but the other one is not. So
What county sent you that email?
Elizabeth, I think, sent the email. Or somebody from the state sent out the email.
My question here, with this is, and it might be a question to the state tax department, I don't know. Can we make exceptions?
There are no exceptions, it's the law.
Okay, well then why 15 years ago did the pilot from up at Edmore get an exemption? Why did the fellow who lost his arm farming get an exemption? I mean, I don't understand how all these different single case scenarios came up and they were just swept under the table. I don't know who gave the exemptions, if it was the auditor, if the commission did it, I have no idea. Because I only found out about this law like probably December or January of this year. So I want to know the specifics of whether or not the county can grant exemptions. And I would like that question answered by the state tax department.
Well, when it's in the century code, there usually is no, there's
Well, I
usually
mean,
no.
but you're just saying that, Bill.
No, I'm not saying it, I got it from me.
There's usually no recourse.
Myrna.
I'd like to get a legal opinion
We
on
have
that.
Lonnie here, Lonnie's here, Myrna.
I don't know off the top of my
We
head.
don't know.
Well, I mean, I just want to know. I don't want to go off task on this thing. I just want to know what the rules are.
I think what Bill was talking about, that article, it was in the paper and it was quoted from Linda Ledbetter.
Oh, maybe that's it.
That's where it was at. It was in the Devil's Lake Journal.
Century code.
Okay,
Bill was quoting.
what was quoted?
The 3-year exemption. Some counties don't do it, but every 3 years.
Some counties do it 3 years because it says that you have to meet that $40,000 criteria 1 out of the last 3 years. Or you could be above it once out of the last 3 years and still comply. So that's the leeway that some of the counties are taking on it.
We got a lot of questions here, a lot of open-ended questions. Nobody seems to have any answers. Jerry, you have no answers about this? Just a minute, Myrna, will you?
What do you want me to answer? I guess, yeah, I'm very familiar with it. I've been here for 30 years, so I'm very familiar with it.
Okay, how long has it been here?
How long has this been here? For as long as I have been.
30 years been here.
This is a 30-year-old law?
Longer than that,
Do you know
yes.
any surrounding counties that are enforcing this?
You know, I don't know about surrounding counties, but over half the state is. I mean,
Okay. How much revenue will this bring into Ramsey County?
it depends on how many taxable residences we pick up.
You have no idea how many.
Well, I know that Nelson County did a few years ago, they picked up 100 houses. So
You
we're.
know that Nelson County did this?
Yes.
You're sure of it?
Yes, I am sure. And right now, Towner County is going through it, and they're actually driving to every farmstead. And any place that there's a building that could be taxable, they're sending them an application.
I talked to a commissioner from Towner County, and that's not the story I got.
Well,
They haven't done nothing.
Well, the tax director that's been doing the driving is the one that told me.
It's the tax director's responsibility to follow the law. The county commission doesn't tell the tax director how to interpret the law. The tax director interprets the law by the century code. So,
One thing I would like to say.
We have no idea how much revenue this will bring into the county.
Not until we know how many houses we pick up, or farm buildings.
Have you contacted any township assessors?
I've talked to them, all of them at the township officers meeting, that we have, yeah, we have an
How
assessor
many
meeting.
townships do you assess, Jerry?
We just are picking up another one currently. I think we're up to, I think it's 18.
And you brought this up to the townships when you had your meeting?
We do every
The
year.
assessors?
We do every year, yes.
And what response did you get from them?
Well, in the past, the county commission has directed me not to send out applications to everybody.
And Bill was on that county commission
I don't think it's came up since Bill was on the commission. Maybe it
in the
has.
past? How many
I've
years you
never
been
been
here,
on the
Bill?
commission when they directed you not to do that. I don't know why they would do that and say, don't follow the law. It's the
Well,
law.
it's not a requirement that those are sent out every year.
That's what it
So
says
this
right on the
hasn't
very
been done
top.
for 10 years then? You've been on the county commission?
It is a requirement.
And I was in
Every
his office for
person
10 years
who
before that.
has one of these forms on file, is that correct?
That we have a form filled out by every person on file, I don't think it's a law that we do.
It says right on the top of the form, Jerry, just like all the other exemptions. What
Yeah,
does that read?
well, the county has elected not to do that in the
The
past.
county hasn't elected to do that. They can't do that. That's the law.
Well, when the county commission directed me at a meeting not to do it, I didn't do it. This isn't the first time this has came up.
I know it hasn't been, but I'd like to see the minutes of the meeting where they directed you to do that, who was on the county commission at that time, because I don't see where this gives you any authority to go against the law.
No, I mean,
As things have progressed and things have evolved over the last 20 years, people have moved out of town and bought little farmsteads, and you have put on, I could probably name a half a dozen or more of them that you put on the tax rolls because they don't farm, or for other reasons that their wife has more money, or, you know, you haven't sent these out to everybody, but you have put many people on the tax rolls because of these laws.
right. Yes,
So-
we have.
So,
In
all
fact-
I'm saying is
Hold on, not about Steve that you mean? Of
they
all the
need-
tax
you know,
rolls
you
in
need
town.
to follow the law as far as people going outside of town and buying 5 acres of land
Sure.
and putting a residence on there and getting a tax exemption for it.
No, this has came up, the last time it came up, I think, was in Klingstrup Township. We weren't doing the assessing, and they got a new assessor, and he said, well, this guy doesn't farm, and I said, well, then if you know he doesn't qualify, you have to put his house on. That's the last time I remember this coming up. Should we send it to all the people then? And it's not just an easy task. We've got to identify all the buildings in the county so we don't miss anybody. And at that time, they said, no, we don't want to open that can of worms.
And the township assessor told you that that individual was not paying taxes on his house?
Yes,
And he didn't farm? The assessor told you that?
yes.
You didn't know that yourself? Is that correct?
I don't know every person in the
No,
county.
I'm just asking a simple question.
No, I didn't know that. I didn't even know the guy.
Well, you know,
Can anybody explain the beginning farmer category?
That's somebody that's just starting out the farm, so he doesn't have 3 years of history.
And they're exempt.
That's the exception to
that's
that.
the exception.
They're exempt.
Yes.
Okay.
If they
So
qualify.
there is some exemption.
All of those categories, you know, you have to pick one of those categories.
When it's crystal clear, Jerry, I think you should do your job.
Well,
Crystal clear.
it isn't crystal clear because over half the state isn't doing it. About 50% of the state is doing it right now.
I think that it would be wise to see if we can get Linda Ledbetter or someone from the state tax department to come and answer these questions for us. I think we are, jumping into this with a head of steam, and I think that we should slow down, get all our ducks in a row, and what we have to do, we need to do in a calm and consistent way. All of a sudden, starting this is going to cause nothing but hard feelings between neighbors and with our integrity as a commission. And I believe that we should get answers to all of these questions face to face, and I would suggest that we get someone from the state tax department to answer these questions, someone who has knowledge of all the counties and all the townships, and go from there.
Okay, is that a motion to table then, or?
I don't know if it's a motion to table, but I will make that a motion to continue our investigation into the farm exemption law and request further assistance comments on it from the state tax department. I think you're putting Jerry in a very, very untenable position here, and I don't think it's fair to him or anybody else.
Okay?
You know, if the county commission in the past told him to leave it alone, then he was following what he was told by his employers. And because this has become such a matter of public interest, I believe that we have to get everything in order, you know, and it's not going to happen next month. So we've got to calm down here and get this done in a consistent way. And I'll make a motion that we get someone to come in and further explain the farm exemption law to us.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any other questions or discussion?
I think the law is perfectly clear.
I got something though.
Jerry?
You know, here's what's really unfair to my office, is when one commissioner comes in and says we're gonna do this now, and when Ed comes in and says we're not gonna do this,
Well, you're
as long as I'm the chairman, we're not doing this.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
You know what?
As long as I'm chairman,
That's why I covered this.
we're gonna,
That's why I covered this.
when the
because I
commission,
said
just
we're
a
not
minute,
being
Myrna, just a
fair.
minute, Myrna. When the commission directs you to do it, they'll do it. You will do it. When the commission does it, not one commissioner. That's what I said. I didn't say as long as I'm here. And for everybody's knowledge, I've contacted my township assessor and told him to put a value on my house. That's where it all starts with. If the townships are contracted with the county, then you do it, Jerry. But if the township has their own assessor, that person doesn't. And that's the law. So, that's the way that works. And I didn't direct you not to do it. I just said when the commission, the entire commission votes to have you do it, that's when you can do it. Okay?
But you did tell me that as long as you were chairman, this wasn't gonna happen.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't.
Okay, well, I misunderstood what you said then.
And I think anybody of any integrity that knows that they're out of compliance with this should step forward to it. I think it's happened recently, and I don't think that anybody should discourage them from doing it. Saying, oh, we can let this go for another year or two by stalling.
I didn't say we were gonna let this go for a year or two, Bill. I said we were gonna do it fairly, consistently, and across the board.
Yeah, no, at the
That's gonna
last
take a little
meeting,
bit- It's gonna take a little bit of time. Excuse me, could I finish? That's gonna take a little bit of time, and it's gonna take a lot of effort on the Director of Tax Equalization's part. Could you give him a chance? And it's gonna take a lot of time on the part of every township assessor. We're gonna have to do this consistently.
there's no better time to start than when the season starts. February 1st was the assessment date. This got brought up on January 6th. February 1st, and then I asked Jerry, I said, bring it up at the township meetings, the assessors meetings, and so he did. So it started.
And how many people have been added to the tax rolls since you met with the township assessors, Jerry?
You mean just this past month?
Yeah.
When we
How
met?
many of the townships that have their own assessors have come forward, or how many people in those townships have sent the form in to you, since you told the township assessors what the law was?
We don't get any information back from the assessors till April. You know, so we won't hear back from them till
Well, if
April.
you've got somebody on the rolls that wasn't on the rolls before, certainly you know it.
No, we won't know that until they return their information to us in April.
And that's why, knowing that, Myrna, I said, bring it up at the township assessors meeting, so they have their time to do their work, and bring it back. I know exactly how it all works, and that's why I brought it up. But I'm not the one that brought it up. you're the one that brought it up at January 6th, and a gentleman in the audience brought it up at the last meeting, so. So, yeah, Jerry won't know until the assessor's books come back that what was done. But this is the season that it gets done. And at the last meeting, you said that it wasn't gonna get done this year, so that's why I'm bringing it up.
How are you planning to police this, Commissioner Murphy?
They don't police it. It says right on the top of the application. This application must be filed every year on or before February 1st. If they don't send it in, it polices itself. Just like the homestead credit and just like the veterans. If something happens to those veterans or something happens to that homestead and they no longer qualify, they don't send in their application every year.
Okay,
It says right at the top of
we've
the
covered
page.
this now. Any other questions? Any other topics we gotta bring up before we vote on this motion in a second?
No. I just find it really odd that we've had this law for 30 years, and now it's at the forefront. It just seems, you know, there's a lot of pieces that gotta be missing. You know, you were told by prior commissions to there's a lot of questions to be answered, and I think that, like Myrna says, I think we need to sit down. You know, if we've waited 30 years to drag this up now, you know, sitting down and asking all the questions and having them all answered, especially by the tax directors. There's no big rush to this. I mean, we've done it for 30 years. Another month or two is not going to kill anybody. I don't believe that, you know.
There has to be a procedure put in place.
Well, absolutely.
You know, we can't just, first of all, we've got to identify everything. How many years are we gonna send it out? Every year? Or every 3 years? You know, it's gonna take a year for us just to gear up to
I would think
send
it's
the
gonna
letters
take
out. There's
minimum of a year.
there's
I mean, we're not
600
talking just putting a stamp on an envelope and throwing it in the mail.
Right.
And everybody wants to point the finger at you. Well, that's not right either. I mean, if you've been told not to do this, we need to know that you've been told not to do this.
Well, and like with senior citizens, if they don't apply, they don't get the credit.
Yeah.
This isn't the case with this one. If you don't apply, we don't tax your house. You know, in the past, otherwise we'd have all the how this would be done.
Yeah, you have a list of everybody.
This is a new procedure.
Yeah.
Just identifying them all is going to be a big job to do.
I would think that that's going to be a huge undertaking.
So,
You're going to have to drive every inch of Ramsey County.
yeah,
We
we
do
can
that
do
every
that.
year.
I don't
They do,
believe
they do that every year, Mark.
I don't
Jerry
believe
goes to every residence every year, and his
In
staff
Ramsey
goes
County?
to all of them, throughout the townships, visit them every year, make sure that there's no new construction, anything like that. The rest of the assessors, that's why they're out there, that's their job, that's what they do. And
That's
this
what
is
they're
the time
supposed to
frame-
do. That's what they're supposed to do. I
This
don't
is the
believe they're
time
all
period
doing
in
it.
which they do that. They do that between now and, what is it, the third Tuesday in March, or whenever they get their, you know, they got from February 1st to the third Tuesday in March to do their assessment. And that's why it's there.
That's another thing I think about this is this can't be administered by the townships. This has to be a county administered thing. Because the townships that are gonna do a good job shouldn't be punished. The residents of that township get punished. The townships that aren't gonna do their job, now they're people that don't qualify aren't gonna get taxed. This has to be administered by the county, not the townships.
No, I disagree with you there. Taxation is individual right by each township, Jerry. And it has to stay that way until we give up that right.
But the tax director oversees all the township assessors. And I see what's been happening in the past. Some townships take even the people that, just last year we had to deal with it. They took their taxable residences off the tax roll. When I called the people to have them fill out this application, they said, well, we're not farmers. Really, why'd your township board take you off the tax rolls then? That's what we'll be dealing with if the townships each handle their own. Because we're dealing with it already.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Any other discussion here? We're trying to repeat ourselves, so.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed,
Hey,
motion carries. Okay, that, we use open record and open meeting laws, you got some information on
I
that?
got some information on that. We asked about it at the last meeting. These are the guidelines that, come out. These are very, very clear. It's a,
Is this involving the county commission on their open records and meetings law?
well, you decided to bring the state into the next Township Officers Association meeting to explain these, so I just thought I'd give the county commission a heads up on some of the things that are going on in the open records.
This is a very, for our reading then, is that correct?
This is a very quick guideline template as to what the guidelines are, and I just highlighted a couple things here because it got brought up at the last meeting. The opinion request, it says that anyone,
Oh, yeah.
nobody has to be a commissioner or a township officer or anybody to request an attorney general's opinion. So,
Okay.
and then on the second page, there's something here that got brought up before, and if a governing body delegates any authority or assigns a portfolio to 2 or more people, the newly formed committee is also subject to these laws, these open records laws.
Correct.
So I would have liked to have been able to go out and look at Ramsey County 8 with Adam the other day, but that would have been a violation of these laws.
You know, a couple, Commissioner Mertens, one thing about that guideline, it's a good guideline. When you look at the statute, because I know Commissioner Lightpond had brought it up a while back about the 2 of you being assigned to the portfolio of the highway department.
Yeah.
What the language in that handout doesn't quite track exactly what the public notification of public meetings law requires. In that one, it talks about a portfolio assignment. I think what the commission used for the definition of a portfolio assignment, like you're assigned a certain portfolio and you're assigned a certain portfolio, that language in the actual statute refers to when a county commission assigns a couple commissioners to go to a meeting to act on their behalf, like what you do with a LEC board. That obviously follows. With how this commission is broken down the portfolios, just because 2 of you are on a portfolio with the highway department doesn't necessarily assign you and Commissioner Lightpond to act on behalf of the county commission. You still bring it back. So just by defining a portfolio didn't necessarily in that situation mean that it makes it a requirement that you have to give public notification. Because that was one of the things that was, if that was, then anytime if you're assigned Commissioner Olson, the sheriff and the state's attorney, every time you meet with me, it doesn't mean that it's requiring a public notification. So it doesn't quite track exactly the law. It's, like I said, it's a good guideline, but looking back at 4404, I think you and Commissioner Lightpond would have been able to go do that just as long, you're not assigned to go and commit the county commission to that.
I can take that as permission to be able to do that then.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
But you don't make any decisions for the.
No, we don't make any decisions.
If the county commission would assign 2 commissioners,
yeah.
And that's pretty common, that issue would come up. Say a 9-county meeting, or maybe the 9-county committee or 9-county meeting that we put together a number of years ago. We put together a joint powers agreement for that. And we've assigned commissioners to go and maybe you have a bid letting for cutting edges, for blades. I know we did that a number of years ago. When the commission would assign 2 commissioners to go to a meeting and act on their behalf, then it fits the bill. With you and Commissioner Lightpond working together on the county highway department portfolio, that still wouldn't authorize you and Commissioner Lightpond to act on the commission's behalf. It's allowing the highway department to come to you to present things to the county commission. So I don't think that fit the bill there.
Adam, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Did you hear all that?
Yeah, and, we've had this discussion in the past, and I guess, if under Lonnie's assessment of it, I feel comfortable, so.
Yeah,
And I feel comfortable with this being in the minutes.
So that being the case, you can go ahead and meet with Kevin, because you're not telling Kevin to do this, do that, you're bringing it back to the commission. That way Kevin knows what commissioner he needs to contact to bring things to the issue of county commission. That's how we set up the portfolio.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Go ahead, Adam, you got a question?
If it's an issue where, say for instance, there's a culvert that needs to be replaced or something, and Bill and I both meet with Kevin, then at that point, if a decision needs to be made, then Kevin would, or one of us would contact the rest of the commissioners. If it's something that has to be done immediately, then that needs to be fine.
Yes. Right, Lonnie?
Yeah, well, emergencies are something completely different.
Oh, okay.
You know, you don't have, when an emergency situation comes up and you're gonna lose a road or have to put a culvert in, that would even authorize the county highway superintendent to go ahead and do that. If it's something that needs to be done by vote of a county commission, there are emergency meeting laws in place under 4404 that would allow the commission to go ahead, have the emergency meeting, and give the notifications as required under the emergency meeting law.
Okay. In other words, it's all about intent. If you're trying to break the law or if you're not trying to break the law, essentially.
Right. You know, you don't bypass public meeting and public notification by declaring everything an emergency, obviously. But the law also builds in emergency meetings for just that. You know, when we had in the 93, 94, 95 era with all the flooding that went on and how we would have to cut holes in roads and put in emergency culverts and things like that. You just couldn't possibly follow the open meetings laws and the public notifications when 2 or 3 hours of time would have meant the difference between saving a road and killing it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lonnie. Appreciate the insight. Anything else on that? You got that? So, new business, approved senior center citizens mill levy request. Same as last year, Elizabeth?
No, it's a little bit more than last year, approximately 200.
Does that seem like it's in order to you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll move to approve that.
Yeah, motion to approve the senior citizens mill levy. Is there a second? There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Approval of raffle permit.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve the raffle permit.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Approve agreement between Ramsey County and Lake Regional Electric Elevator. I guess you want to explain it, Elizabeth, or you want me to?
You can explain it if you can.
Can I make a note quickly?
Sure.
I was reading through the agreement last night, and I noticed on page 4 that it still has the completion date of last fall. Should we adjust that accordingly?
Yes. We can change that.
Okay, yeah, I just noticed it before we signed it, we should change the date to whenever the project's gonna be done now, so we have it all
We should
in a row there.
There was a, Martin Mechanical, Adam, didn't notify the electrician that he had to bid.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, that's what occurred.
yeah. So now they've been notified and they're all right with it and they're standing by their prices that they bid, and Roger told me this morning, so.
Oh, okay, very good.
They're on board with it.
Okay.
So, any other questions, or you got one more, Elizabeth?
This is all on last year's budget, right?
Right, but it was, the funds were transferred into this year's budget, so we budgeted for 2015 again. So,
Okay.
Okay. You got that, Myrna?
Yep, I got it.
so basically, we just need a motion to have the chairman sign the agreement form, and I will
I'll
change that
make
date.
that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to that effect, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Report on portfolios. Anybody got anything? Maybe we should put it that way. Bill?
I was thinking.
Adam, go ahead, you want it.
Treasurer yesterday, and, we're doing very well on property tax collection. Of the 13 million, we've only got, 900,000 and change left. She said that's better than most years, so,
Good.
doing well there.
That's good. Anything else, Adam?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Bill?
Nothing, the airport's been on the radio and stuff, the boardings continue to rise. We still haven't solved our National Guard issues, so they will continue to rise, and our parking lot is too small, so we're expanding our parking lot.
Okay, anything else? That's it, Bill?
That's it.
Mark?
Museum is, no longer has a director currently. I would imagine at the next meeting, we will go through applicants. Law Enforcement Center, new administrator was here today. Obviously, he came for the second day, so we're doing good.
We're doing good, that's right. It's a plus.
It's a plus.
Myrna, you got anything?
You know, I think that Rachel did a very good job of explaining Forward Devil's Lake. She took a lot of heat last night at the city commission meeting and handled it very well.
I was just gonna say, Myrna, she handled it very well.
She did a fine job. She's very professional, and we're pretty lucky to have her. My other portfolios, I think we've discussed in my new detail. You guys all know that parcel viewer is up and running. I'd like to commend Steve on doing a good job on that, and he did it in a very timely manner. That's all I've got.
Very good. I got the social services going fine. In the law enforcement center, we have our administrator on board. So we expect good things there now. So.
Ted, can you tell me why the bill was so much lower this month?
Incarcerations numbers, I suppose.
We're down?
Yeah.
The reentry center is down too.
We, this is Lonnie. We took care of a whole bunch of cases in the past several weeks, which meant that they were either getting out on probation or going down to prison. So that's it's one of those fluctuations that you see. It's not uncommon for us to start running through a whole bunch of preliminary hearings, which is usually where we cut our plea agreements between myself and defense counsel. Judges, when they're out of town, we don't have court because they're in Rolla or wherever. And when they are in town, we'll have 8-10 preliminary hearings a day, and we can take care of a lot of cases at one time.
Okay, thank you.
So we have big months and we have small months. So hopefully we have a string of small months.
That's cool.
And I'd like to thank Rachel again and her staff. You did very well.
We're happy to have Amanda.
Good information. It really helps. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're done. Nothing else?
Motion to approve.
Second.